Rainier Maria Rilke, he once wrote, "Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final." Most men have spent their entire lives making sure they never have to find out if that's true. Today, we find out. Before we go further, this episode goes somewhere real. Grief, rage, loss, the threshold of death. Listen, if you're in a tender season right now, I want you to know you're in exactly the right place. And if you're in an acute crisis or not ready to go deep today, it's okay to pause this and come back when you're ready. This episode will wait for you. For everyone else, just stay with me. I want to start today not with an argument or a logic, but with a voice, the voice of Jesus to a man in pain from my book, Jesus Comforts. This entry is entitled The Treasured Thorn. When you're struggling with a lingering affliction, my beloved, my gifts come in unexpected packages, and I know your thorn remains. I see how it rubs, how it chafes, how it makes you cry, how it makes you cry out in the nights. I could remove it with a single word, but in my love, I have allowed it for now, not as punishment, but as planting. What pierces you now, I call a seed. Where you feel only the sting of pain, I am sowing the mystery of beauty, like wildflowers breaking through the cracks of broken ground, or gold hidden deep in wounded earth. And for the thorns that remain, they only remain for a season. The thorn is not the end, it is the beginning. The ache you feel presses you into me. Every cry becomes communion, every wound a door to deeper grace. I know you long for ease, for answers, for quick relief. But what if I told you that what feels like affliction is becoming a tree of life within you? You see blood, but I see blossoms. The heart you have surrendered to me is a barren field, but I see what it will become. I've taken the risk of being misunderstood by allowing what feels like a thorn to settle into the soil of your soul, a gift wrapped in ache, a seed disguised as suffering. The piercing pain is not random, it is a heaven-born seed, sown deep in your heart with divine intention. Trust my hand in the process, for I touch your future as it rushes into your present. Drink deeply of the rain of my spirit, softening the land of your soul. My grace will make the soil noble with the fertility of faith. And know that as I place the seed thorn into your heart, I will anesthetize you by my grace. It's by grace that you are where you are now. It's my grace that will gently gather the fractured memories of your past, smoothing the sharp edges and stitching them into a song of healing, restoring what was shattered with tenderness and truth. Where the stab of sin kills, the slice of my seed thorn ends in life and peace. As a mother tends her child, so I bend now to mend your wounds. I am the Lord who heals you. I am the one who comforts you. Present to me the thrashings of your heart, and I will kiss you tenderly. Endure the season of planting, and in due time you will reap in plenty. My purpose is greater than the pain. One seed of my kingdom bears fruit unseen. Let my grace be your shelter as the soil is turned. I do not pierce to harm, I pierce to plant. My grace softens what is hard, harmonizes what is scattered, and heals what was broken. This thorn is temporary. It has an expiration date, but my purposes are eternal. So endure this season, held by my tenderness. Trust my sight, my heart, and my hand as I plant heaven within you. Just as I began sowing beauty into broken places, I now complete shaping eternity in the soil of your surrender. And in time, you will thank me for the treasured thorn. Tender, precise, not fixing, but holding. That's a Jesus that most men never have been introduced to, not because he isn't real, but because we've been formed by culture, by church, by locker rooms and boardrooms to distrust that kind of tenderness, to see it as soft, as weak, as something that other men need, but not us. And today I want to name that formation for what it is, not as a critique, more like a diagnosis. The script that most men have inherited, grit is the way, tough is the path, right? Grit is the way, tough is the path. And tenderness is frowned upon, mocked openly in locker rooms, subtly in boardrooms, and a little bit of both in some church cultures. There's a celebration of men who just push through with that badge of grit, but have no language for the men who fall apart, including pastors. When was the last time a man in your life told you he was undone? When was the last time you let yourself become undone? Here's the cost. A man who never learns to let everything happen to him, the beauty and the terror, doesn't grow into maturity. He grows into performance. And performance is exhausting and lonely. And it's hollowing out the man who didn't even know there was a problem. You hit his chest and there's just a thud. Where's the heart? So, what is actually happening underneath the performance? There's a framework that helps answer that, the diagnosis. Dr. Jim Wilder and the Life Model Works Wisdom gives us honest language for this. Emotional maturity moves through stages, and the earliest stage, the infant stage, has one primary job: to receive. It continues in maturation in child and adult and parent and elder. But primarily in the initial stage, we learn how to receive. That's our task, to be comforted, to be held, to be seen, and everything else gets built on top of that foundation. But here's what so many men were never told. You cannot skip the receiving stage and build genuine maturity on top of thin air. It doesn't work that way. The man who never learned to receive comfort, he doesn't just automatically become an adult who gives it well. He becomes a man who performs strength while quietly starving, unable to nurture the people around him because he hasn't learned how to nourish himself. And here's the hard truth. A man can be theologically sophisticated, professionally successful, even spiritually active, and still be running on a child's emotional engine. Information without formation, knowledge without tenderness, belief that has never made it from the head to the chest. Listen, this is not condemnation. This is a map. And maps are only useful if you're willing to look at where you actually are. I'm not going to just teach you this, I'm going to show you. Because the most powerful thing that I can do right now is not explain emotional expression to you, it's demonstrating it. And I want to be clear, I'm not suggesting that you have to write a poem. You don't need to produce anything. What I'm talking about is simpler and even harder than that. Talking to someone, letting it out, naming what happened to you out loud to at least one safe person. Expression doesn't require eloquence. It just requires honesty. Most men never let themselves damn death. They call the numbness peace. They confuse suppression with surrender. And honestly, who taught them differently? Western culture doesn't prepare us for death, for example. We don't sit with the dying. We don't lament publicly. We sedate grief with productivity and call it moving on. Men, especially, are handed a shovel and are just told to bury it. But here's what I've discovered. The man who actually processes his grief, who lets it move through him rather than parking it in his chest, accesses something almost alchemical. Grief, grief fully felt, it doesn't leave you empty. It leaves you with a kind of courage, a depth that nothing else produces. It may be the mother of all virtues, and most men never find out. But the rage and the beauty, they're not opposites. You can curse the grave and still stand at the threshold unafraid. The man who has wept deeply is the man who sees clearly. In 2012, I wrote something. It wasn't theology, it wasn't a devotional. It was a man's lungs tearing open. I'm going to read it to you now. I had to find it on Facebook notes behind buttons, and I knew it was there somewhere. I found it. I'm going to read it not because it's polished, it didn't make it into my book, but I'm going to read it to you because it's not polished, it's quite raw. And this is what emotional expression looks like before acceptance arrives. And for years, I couldn't read it without losing my voice or crying. But today, I think I could read it full through for this episode. Love is stronger than death, my ode to 2012. Love is stronger than death, my ode to 2012. And that's the year I lost my wife. 2012, what the hell? Death, have you not satisfied your swelling belly, your greedy rage of bloodlust? 2012, are your lungs not drowned with the burning flood of my searing tears? Are your eardrums not shattered by the screams of my heart? 2012, you have thrust your sword of agony into the darling of my soul's desire. O grave, you have buried one who is more noble than you. You have invaded my home and have dashed my sweet ones upon the nightmare of motherless madness. 2012, go to hell. 2012. Time has passed since your April arrest. 2012, you and I battle in the arena of last words these last few days before you too shall expire. The seeming success of your hellish heist shall surely be redeemed. Shall my curses be the last drink of my chalice? Shall my ashes beneath my tongue ever be my daily bread? You would have it that I should remain in shreds of sackcloth, slain in breathless despair. 2012, I call you out. Bend down and look me in the eye like a man. Brace yourself for my word, for the message of my pen shall be as an arrow in your heart. 2012, I defy your Goliathan grip of bullied brazenness. I defy you in the name of great David's greater son. Have you forgotten about the stone? Recall that shepherd you thought you could take. Recall that dark night of Golgotha's tree. Death you thought you had won, dumb, insane, and deceived. Love was crucified and hope was torn. Hearts were pierced and hell rejoiced. But then you forgot. You forgot that love is stronger than death. Love crucified is that grain of corn. Love buried is love reborn. You thought that the darkness would win, but you messed with the wrong dude, and darkness has seized him not. You touched light's only son, and his life is stronger than death. What were you thinking? 3 days later, the stone that was removed became the very stone to have landed right between your eyes. 2012, you may have taken and buried my love for now, but halt in his name, for with your own sword I raise upon your brow. Hear these words and count your days, because it's only a short while before you live in lake ablaze. Love is stronger than death, and you've messed with the wrong woman. You have no idea what you've done. You've touched the beloved daughter of the king. Your gallows shall be turned upon yourself, and hell will have forever fury. For his love is invincible, facing danger and death. His passion laughs at the terrors of hell. The fire of love stops at nothing. It sweeps everything before it. Flood waters can't drown love. Torrents of rain can't put it out. 2012. You may have caught me by surprise. You may have tried to silence my praise. You may have tried to blacken my God's name. You may have sent grief to derail and destroy. 2012, good form. But is that all you've got? See, sorrow is a gift and grief is a grace. There are only some songs that are learned in your valley, and no angel can sing it as sweetly as I. There are notes too dark for souls, too virgin to the crushing of the cross. But once love's blood pours upon my head, and my soul is filled with Father's breath, you had better run far, far away. See, you're only a pawn and an errand boy to the king. And for this dark irony forever I shall sing. Beauty for ashes he has given to me, a song of the redeemed, forgiven and free. She has no more cancer or any pain below, beholding his face, Adrian aglow. Our God gives and he taketh away, but one thing remains, his love will stay. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Soul still bleeding will one day be restored. 2012, an unwanted gift of love's final breath. But don't you forget, love is stronger than death. That was a man allowing himself to feel the full weight of what had been taken. That's not weakness. That's probably the most honest thing I've ever written. And it's the thing that most men I know have never allowed themselves to do. No feeling is final, but you have to let the feeling happen first. And here's what I've discovered. You don't have to go into that fire alone because Jesus doesn't stand outside it watching. From the inside out, he walks in the flame with you. I wrote that piece alone as a human, in grief, with fire. But listen to what happens when Jesus enters all of the rooms of your heart. From the book, there's an entry that is fierce, and it's called Damn Death. When death has stolen what you love, the last enemy to be destroyed is death. 1 Corinthians 15:26. Damn death, you are hated, and you are hated purely and exceedingly. With infinite abhorrence, I loathe you and your mother, sin. You have seized my children long enough, but the day you swallowed my son on the cross, the dial of death was turned upon you. It won't be long until death dies and draws its final breath. Dear one, you who have been robbed by the grave, hear me. I know your searing pain. I know your aching loss. You didn't even know such raw pain existed. I know there isn't even a sound your body can make to match the horror you are experiencing. But let it out. Speak to me. Scream to me. Lament. Mourn. Wail. You feel as though you are in hell, falling into an abyss that has no end. But listen to me. Death is not the final word. I am. Death is not the final word. I am. Sorrow is not the final word. I am. Invite me now to rush into your raw emotions. Open your heart and run and collapse into my arms. You are not alone, for I am with you. I am with you now. You have permission to lose it in me. Lean into me and I will hold you. Rack your ugliest cry and shake until you can shake no more. Cry some more and collapse into my arms. Comfort is not far off, but first cry, scream, emote, talk, be angry, be confused, be sad, and be silent. It is all right to feel the chaotic spin of the kaleidoscope of your feelings. But stay with me, stay near me. I am near, I will hold you. Your sky may feel like it has fallen, but I will hold you. I will comfort you. I will not let you go. You are not going to lose your mind. beloved. You are not insane. Death is insane, but my love is stronger than death, stronger than life, stronger than sorrow, and stronger than grief. I am enveloping you now in my arms of love. I feel what you feel right now. I am not the God who is so far off that I don't see or feel. I am crushed with you. I am broken in your brokenness. I have endured the crushing weight of sin and death upon the cross, and have wept unto death itself. Even though this feels like a black hole, it is not. It is the valley of the shadow of death. There is hope. There is hope. For there is one who is mightier than death and holds its key. Look to me. Trust in me. Find comfort in me. I am the resurrection and the life. And he who believes in me will not remain in death, for I will raise them on the last day. And as deep as the blade of sorrow carves your soul, so my comfort will flood your very being. And my comforter will be with you day and night. Place your trembling self in my presence, and I will bring you through. I will bring you through your agony. I will bring you through your grief. I will bring you through tormenting questions to my tender embrace. Your tears are felt by my heart, and I groan with you now. It will not always be night. It will not always be night, beloved. It will not always be night. Day will come again, and each day you will be greeted by new mercy and held in Christ's comfort. Damn death. Jesus doesn't tell you to stop feeling. He feels it with you. He curses what you curse. He weeps what you weep. But here's what I've learned. The man who hasn't raged fully and wept honestly doesn't stay at the graveside forever. Something happens, something matures in him. And that process has been long going for me. Death doesn't intimidate the way that it once did. Death stops being the thing he's running from and starts becoming the threshold he's walking toward. Not with resignation, not with defeat, with the quiet, unafraid dignity of a man who has already lost what he feared losing most, and discovering that love was still standing. This is elder maturity. And John O'Donohue, he knew what it looked like. The Irish poet and philosopher John O'Donohue, who I quote often, wrote a blessing for those who have lost someone they love. I won't read it word for word, but I want to give you its heart. He speaks to the one who's crossed over. He doesn't rage at the grave. He blesses it. He speaks of the one who's gone as having stepped into a light that they could not see from this side. He holds the grief of those left behind as something sacred, not something to rush through. And he ends in sorrow, but in that kind of fierce, quiet hope. And that is what grief fully felt and not rushed eventually produces in a man. Not bitterness, not numbness, a tenderness toward the very thing that undid him. Same love as the rage, entirely different posture. Rage transformed, not into denial, but into benediction. I know that progression, not because I read about it, because I lived it and I'm still living it. I wrote those words in 2012 with fire in my lungs, and I meant every one. But grief, if you let her finish her work, doesn't leave you at the graveside forever. She walks you slowly and not without cost to the very threshold that I'm talking about. The Celts had a phrase, Og Dulwaye, going home. Death in their understanding was not an ending. It was a threshold. It was a homecoming of the soul that it was always moving toward. Poet David Wright writes about what he calls the great disappearing, the idea that we spend our lives apprenticed to something we keep pretending isn't coming. But the man who has wept deeply knows it's coming, and somehow in the weeping stops being afraid of it. That's not morbidity, that's maturity. That's the second half of life doing what the first half never could. I'm not there yet, not all the way, but I know the direction now. I'm no longer afraid of the crossing, and neither need you be afraid as well. Let everything, and I mean everything, let everything happen to you. Beauty and terror just keep going. No feeling is final. I want to leave you with something practical to carry, not because we need to rush out of what we just walked through, but because the Heartsmith way is always asking, what do I do with what I've just felt? This week's Heartsmith question. You ready? What have you been calling strength that actually might be avoidance? What have you been calling strength that might actually be avoidance? And what would it look like to let one person see you undone, even for a moment? Jesus Comforts. Here it is. Dun, da, da. It's officially out in the world. We had our first soft launch this past weekend, and a virtual launch is coming soon. If you want to sit with the voice of Jesus in grief, comfort, and tenderness over time, signed copies are available now at jasontwombly.com/Jesus Comforts. And the piece that lives alongside this episode, The Night the Book Became Flesh, is available on Substack. Read it slowly. This has been Jason Twombly and the Heartsmith podcast. Shape the heart, forge the man, and I'll see you in the next episode.